lot of people have questions about what really is fracturing, what goes on in a frac job. The easiest way to think about what a frac job is and really why we do it can best be demonstrated by maybe looking at this atlas and think of the space between these pages as fractures that are naturally existing in the formation. Now you can imagine if I'm pressing down in this with all the weight of the earth on top of it, it's not very easy to get gas through those particular fractures. But suppose we could go ahead and open these pages somehow and stick a coin in it and bring it to rest. Well, if you look at that again, you'll see that while there's closure on this, there's actually little spaces around the edge of it. That's what we're really trying to do with a frac job, is we're trying to get down into the naturally occurring fractures in the earth and put something in there to hold them open, and that's sand. I have here a piece of actual Bowland shale taken from the Priest Hall well. You can see really tiny micro fractures in here that are naturally occurring in the rock. This was taken from this well that we're on, and it's at a depth of about 8,000 feet. Now what we're going to try to do in our frac job is to pump these open ever so slightly, probably not much more than the width that you see right here, and we're going to try to get sand in that. So how do we do that? Well, we have to transport the sand somehow, and we use water. I have some drinking water, and this is really a good example of what we use, because we use water that comes straight out of the domestic water line and gets piped into our location before we frac it and put into steel tanks. So we'll put some of this in here. And what we're going to do is we're going to add the sand that is going to be delivered down to 8,000 feet and actually prop these fractures open. What I really want to do now is just show you how we get the propping down the well. So I have here some typical sand, and I'm going to put some of this in our water. And that's about the right ratio that we would normally put into a frac job. We're going to stir this, and we would pump that solution down a well. Now this solution here of fresh water and sand makes up 99.7% of everything that goes into this well. So the question you might have is, what else goes into the well? This chemical here, which is a friction reducer, and it's an additive that we put in a very small concentration, and I'm going to put in approximately the amount that would go into a typical frac treatment. There's 5 drops, and that additive goes in for one purpose. It's to lower the friction while we're pumping down the well to enable us to pump at a lower pressure. The other additive we put in is called a biocide, and it's really put in there for one purpose, and it's to ensure that we don't get bacteria growth. Now normally when we buy domestic water, we don't really need this, but it is a possible additive that would go in, and if it does, it would be the equivalent of 1 drop with this, about 1.5 drops, and that's the primary chemicals that go into the frac treatment itself. There is one other additive that we may have to use in any frac treatment, and that is a real weak hydrochloric acid put in a very small volume right at the very beginning of the job, just enough to get us through the perforations. It's a product that's actually used in the food industry to purify beer. It's in the EU, it's referred to as E507. We put it down there just enough to go ahead and get us through the perforations with our frac treatment, and then we're done. So it doesn't actually get added to this fluid while we're pumping, but it may be sort of a spearhead out in front of it. This is our frac job made simple on a countertop. So let's go now and look what the equipment looks like and see how you do this on a larger scale.